everybody ready?
Well, you're hoping they weren't a minute ago, is what we're...
It's the same UPS guy that delivers at all the stations. Okay, we're ready to go.
Too many jokes.
You guys know who's here already, but we're going to start off with my boss, Constable Ted Heap.
Well, good morning. I'm Constable Ted Heap of Harris County Precinct 5, and wanted to thank you all for being here today. I'm joined with a couple of my colleagues, Constable Wayne Thompson from Fort Bend County Constable's Office Precinct 3, and Teare from the Harris County District Attorney's Office. We came here today to see if we could actually get y'all's help in getting out some information about what we consider to be a very disturbing trend that seems to be increasing in the Harris County and Fort Bend County area. And what I'm referring to is the discharging of firearms recklessly in public places. This is not a joke. It's not funny. It's not something that needs to be posted on social media to try to gain attention and popularity. This is a crime. This is a very dangerous act, and it could have deadly consequences. The illegal discharging of firearms is something that we in law enforcement take very seriously, something that we are going to be pursuing, and something that you will be prosecuted for. So, little details on the case that we're referring to today. Back in August, there is a sergeant from Constable Thompson's office that contacted Harris County Precinct 5 about a suspect that was involved in some illegal activity that lived within our precinct. His name is Gautam Srinivasan. This individual, through a credible source, Precinct 3 Constable's Office was able to obtain some video through Snapchat of this individual discharging his firearm in several public places. So it was through some investigation that we were able to locate this individual. He has a Snapchat handle by the name of Banana Slap Man. So he posts his information. We were able to do some investigations and determine where these offenses were occurring. Our investigators observed through one of the videos the discharge of firearms on the West Park Toll Road around the Eldridge area. It's very plain to see by the video that there were other vehicles in the area. There's also been discharge of firearms in what appears to be an apartment complex, and also what appears to be his parents' own backyard who live in the Katy area. So through Constable Thompson's investigation originally, and then the information that was projected and sent over to Precinct 5, this individual has been arrested. We're going to be sharing those videos with you today, so you will have access to those videos. The defendant was taken into custody and has been charged with deadly conduct by discharging a firearm. I'm going to let Sean talk a little bit about the prosecutory side of it and the offenses that go with this type of thing. He was also on the radar of Fort Bend County Constable's Office prior to this offense. And I'm going to let Constable Thompson go in a little bit more detail about why they had him on his radar prior to this event. Constable? Thank you.
Thank you, Constable Heap. My name is Wayne Thompson, Fort Bend County Constable, Precinct 3. It's been an honor to work with Constable Heap's team in getting this person off the streets. Obviously, he was a danger and hazard to those around him, and we will not stand for it in any county, Fort Bend or Harris County. This person was under probation already for other charges in Fort Bend County, and I think this shows a trend that he is not going to change his behavior. Through good police work and the work of detectives and investigators, we were able to identify multiple locations where this activity occurred and the person who is responsible for it, and we were able to take them off the streets yesterday. He is 19 years old, and he filmed himself firing a firearm on the tollway in a residential area and apartment complex. These occurred both in Harris and Fort Bend County, as Constable Heap's area and ours adjoin each other in the Cinco Ranch area. So we were able to work as a team to get this person off the street. I'll introduce to you Division Chief Mr. Searle with the Harris County District Attorney's Office to discuss the charges and the felony classification of the charge, and then we'll take some questions afterwards.
First of all, I'd like to start by thanking both of these constable agencies and these constables individually. This is a wonderful example of our law enforcement community, not just in Harris County, but all of our community, this entire area coming together. This should show everyone that there are not county lines when it comes to crimes. We work hand in hand every different way to get people off the streets that are dangerous. And for this trend, that's happening now, where people are posting themselves firing guns on social media, it's, as the constable said, it's not a joke. Every single one of those bullets comes down somewhere. Every time you fire one of those rounds, you are putting everyone around you at risk of dying. And this charge today, deadly conduct, is a third-degree felony. We're not talking about a traffic ticket. We're not talking about even a DWI or a reckless driving charge. We're talking about a third-degree felony. This individual is now charged in 2 different counties with felony charges. And in Harris County, we intend to convict him and make him face the punishment range that he is currently charged with. We will be working with the Fort Bend DA's office on this. We are all going to work hand in hand, as this press conference should show. This is a wonderful example of our law enforcement community coming together, and everyone out there needs to be aware that this is going to be the trend on our end from now on. We are all going to work together to take people like this off the streets.
Are they the same charges in both counties?
That's correct.
What is that range that we?
So this is a third-degree felony. It is punishable by a minimum of 2 years in prison, up to 10 years in prison.
So he has 2 counts here, I'm sorry.
Right now, we have him charged with 1 charge of deadly conduct here, and he has 1 charge of deadly conduct in Fort Bend. As you'll see with these videos, a lot of these areas are, yes, the West Park Tollway, but it's kind of difficult to put him at an exact place. We charged him in Harris County for the apartment complex because that's an address, that's a place that we can definitively say, when we take this to a jury, that's where he fired that round. So that's why we charged that one. There are multiple other instances where he could be charged, but there's no reason to do that at the moment. But charges could be added later.
Could you just give us the spelling of your name?
Sure, it's Sean, S-E-A-N, last name is Teare, T-E-A-R-E.
Assistant DA?
Uh-huh.
What was the previous, what's he on?
For evading charges in Fort Bend County is what he was on probation for.
Do you live with his parents, or,
He did for a short time, he doesn't anymore.
and do they live in Fort Bend?
They do, so, yes.
Sorry.
Yes, so he was charged in Fort Bend with 1 count of deadly conduct, and that was at a location, as he mentioned, that we could identify, which was his parents' house in Fort Bend County in Cinco Ranch. So we use that as our charging location in our case. But as the chief mentioned there is a possibility of other charges forthcoming if we're able to identify the other locations.
Do you know? Demeanor, or did he say anything? Why?
My understanding with the investigators that were there is he was cooperative, and he actually gave a admission of guilt and a confession.
Did he say why?
No, ma'am.
Have you guys been able to recover the weapons?
No, our agency has not recovered any weapons. I don't believe precinct 5
Not at
has.
this time, no.
And he, as far as you guys know, he has not shot anyone. Is that?
We don't know of any victims of his reckless conduct or his deadly conduct at this point. He was actually arrested. He was reporting for his regular probation reporting, and so we chose to coordinate and wait for him to actually arrive for that appointment, at which point he was arrested on the new charges. So he was going and being checking in for his previous charges when he was arrested on these charges.
In Fort Bend County or Harris?
Fort Bend County.
And that was yesterday?
That is correct.
So he's currently in the Fort Bend County jail?
That is correct.
Okay.
It's like he wanted to be. I mean, he's broadcasting and he's showing up for a probation hearing.
Well, I think some of the information that he was telling, with subtitles of the West Park Toll Road is my shooting gallery, things of this nature. Obviously, he's not thinking these things through, or he doesn't realize the ramifications of his actions legally, but also within the community. Like I said, the repercussions that could happen to innocent people. I'm just telling you, if my wife's driving down the toll road with my 2 grandchildren and somebody comes up beside her and starts shooting a high-calibered handgun out the window and it causes an accident or panic, I mean, it's totally unacceptable. Does not seem to be registering with a lot of these people of the consequences of those actions, not only by what they're doing, but to the general public and the innocent people that are around them.
Did he talk about getting like a thrill by posting on Snapchat, or is it because he was trying to get how many likes, stuff like that?
I was not part of that interview, and that has not been revealed to me, so I don't have any
We
information
can
on
ask
that.
some of the
Where
guys
did
off
he-
camera to what's the caliber of the gun?
Where did he get the guns, or how many guns and where did he get them, do you know?
So it appears right now that the guns were purchased legally. We were told, and this has not been verified, but we were told that the guns were purchased through a gun show legally. But as we said, those guns have not been recovered at this time. So we'll have that information as the investigation continues.
He bought that legally.
Correct.
He stated on one of the videos that it was a .45 caliber, but we don't know that for a fact. So.
And really, the concept of people just randomly shooting for the hell of it is not necessarily new, right? Because they do it New Year's and all that stuff. You guys always talk about those things. So can you talk to us about, like, adding the social media aspect of it, sort of, I don't know, does it encourage these people, boosts them up, or?
Well, I think as in with many things in social media, it becomes a popularity contest. How many people are going to like me or share me or whatever it is that they're doing, depending on what venue they're utilizing. But it becomes more of a popularity. They're getting their thrills from it, and like I said before, not realizing the consequences for their actions.
And would you say his tag was on?
It was a banana slap man is what he used. And as Constable Heap mentioned before, I think we've seen a trend of folks recording and videoing and putting on social media crimes as they commit them. And we're here to tell you that we're going to come find you. And we're going to work with everyone to do that. And then you're going to be arrested and prosecuted wherever we need to do it. We're not going to allow this to continue. We take it very, very seriously. This is deadly conduct, as the name of the charge alludes to. And those bullets come down, and some of these he was shooting in a direction of another house. So it was fortunate that no one else was killed or injured that we know of. But we're going to come find you.
We will do everything within our control not to allow this to become a popularity contest. In other words, we will do everything to remove this handle so that people cannot follow through and make him some type of a hero. When we talk about a trend, I think that Sean can probably verify the fact that, if I'm not mistaken, Harris County has probably 4 pending cases with the same type of actions.
And you all have covered a number of those already. We have at least 4 pending right now in Harris County with this same type of action, where you're out firing, recording it, and as the constables both said, for popularity, for your 15 minutes of fame, it's not worth having a criminal felony conviction on your record for the rest of your life. And there are investigative tools that we're not going to go into, but rest assured, if you're putting this out there, as the constable said, we're going to find you, we're going to arrest you, and we're going to prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law every single time.
Did you use those investigative tools to identify this guy, or did somebody just come forward and say?
Both of these agencies utilize tools in order to identify him, in order to collect these videos, and now we're going to use them to prosecute him in front of a jury.
Because that particular app, by the way, as y'all know, the video disappears, you think.
Or does it?
Will
Yeah.
he, do any psychological evaluations as to, what is going on up there?
Look, every person that goes into the Joint Processing Center in Harris County, and I'm sure that's true for Fort Bend as well, if there is a medical issue, if there's a mental health issue, they're going to get screened, they're going to get evaluated. I don't believe that there's any indication that we have a mental health issue with this defendant, but prior to us attempting to send him to prison, we're going to ensure that that's true.
So just to be clear, he's charged with these 2 incidents, one West Park Tollway and the other at his parents' house.
So the West Park Tollway charge is not a charge that we have filed yet, simply because the apartment complex charge in Harris County is a much easier location to identify. We do have him shooting on the West Park Tollway, but we also have him shooting in his parents' backyard, which is the genesis of the Fort Bend charge.
What's the address of the apartment complex? You know,
I'll get that for you.
You can get that?
Yeah.
So in total, we have him shooting 3 different locations?
At least. As he said, the West Park Tollway was his shooting gallery, so he did that more than once.
And they were all in August?
I believe we just went back that far. We have a lot of evidence that we haven't even gone all the way through on this individual. So
How do you spell his name again? I mean, how do you spell his name, not again?
I'm going to let Mr. McShann
Yeah, I'll
tackle
give it
that
to you.
off camera.
I'll give it to you.
How were you not notified of this video?
I'm sorry, repeat the question?
How were you notified of this?
How are you notified of the videos?
We have a trusted source that came to us with the fact that they had seen these on social media. That source was verified. It is a confidential source at this time, but it was somebody that was concerned about what they were seeing. So we took that video from them and took the investigation from there and contacted Precinct 5 Constable's office.
So one of his friends.
I don't know if they have any relationship at all, just somebody that's seen the video.
Can you repeat the suspect's name?
Yeah,
The-
I'll give it to you.
Okay.
I'll give it to you in just a second. Okay, we want to reach out to the public. There may be people that see videos that they can report into both of our agencies.
And that's the thrust of why we feel, one of the reasons we feel that this is so important is to be able to garnish the help from the public. So we implore the public, when you see videos like this on Facebook, on Snapchat, wherever it is, whatever venue of social media, when you see something that is concerning, something that is threatening to the public as a whole, notify your local law enforcement. It is something that we take very seriously, something that we really want to follow through on, and we will prosecute as the district attorney's office had stated. So, you know, 2 sets of eyes looking at social media is nowhere near as effective as 1.5 million people looking at social media. So please follow through with your law enforcement. If you see something that does not look that is acceptable in our society today, please contact your local law enforcement and let us follow through on it.
One more warning to teenagers out there that this will not be tolerated.
It will not be tolerated, and as was mentioned before, when you think that something is deleted, it's not always the case. There are investigative tools that are being utilized to be able to curb and address deadly conduct such as this. But no, this is not a joke. As much as it seems like something that is a celebratory act that is not hurting anybody, that's not the case. And law enforcement and the district attorney's office in both counties do not consider it a joke.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Do you have the spelling and everything for me?
Yes. Here's the, you just want to shoot it off the screen? But, yeah, the YouTube channel is our Harris County Precinct 5 YouTube page. You'll be able to get 4 videos now. You give me a half an hour or less, you'll get 3 more. As long as y'all keep me in one area.
Can you send us that? Have you sent us that?
All
link?
I have the link, it's in your email.
Okay. The link is in your email.
But you can go.
But you just don't do it.
YouTube channel. John Steiger. You got it? Sure.
He's not the one who's with the,
Have y'all turned off your live feeds?
No. So,
Hang on one second.